I wanted to comment about something, but will comment about it. So when we started the Penuel show, in this room, it was an experimentation. I think it still is. And
doesn't look like it
anymore.
Yeah, no.
So when you came here and when a lot of other people came here, hey, Nanchuluga strong. People were here chatting, Basula. Yeah, you know, the thing pen is So I just want to say thank you to production. Thanks to everyone who contributes. Thanks to
I'm
the
glad
views.
you noticed.
We have the ability now to actually afford the aircon. So, you know, we're quite cool and chilled now.
Yeah.
So, but Siya, thank you so much for Siya, because Umxhosa.
Yeah.
If you come from KwaZulu, see to Siya. EmaXhoseni to Siya.
Siya.
Siyabulela Ngcangca.
Siyabulela, that's the one.
Yeah, one of my close mates, man. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks, bro.
How you doing, bro?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Headspace-wise, quite good. A lot of challenges and a lot of things that, you know, when you want to implement and do certain things, there's a lot of things that you need to put in place.
Sure.
And a lot of things require hard work. Yeah. But I'm good. I love working.
One of people's favorite takeouts from our last sit down here was you saying, "There's no God, you're God." Me, it's thanks to me.
Thanks to me when I give my mother money to buy food. So one day she says to me, "Okay, let's pray for the food." I said, "Mama, after praying, could you please just say thanks to Siya?
Come on.
For the money you've given us so that we can be able to afford the food." Because, I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And that money, you know, comes from what I do, which is mining.
One of the things I said before we went live was I always enjoy having a person come back the second time because then you're no longer a guest. Now you're family. Mawufuni coffee, babas. Kombe kishi.
I mean, I'm privileged because ngazabantu, like we said, so bangilethele. I mean.
So I get to, not really disrespect, but I get to be a bit looser because it's not our first time.
But which is good. I mean, it makes people relax. It makes people, No, it does. It does. I mean, when I got in here, I was feeling intimidated. I was like, shit, this place is different.
Yeah, it's changed.
It's like
curtains,
I mean, there's lights. There's lights that I've never seen before, you know. I don't know where you guys got them.
Camera babe shununuzayo. Come on. I want to do some history because I asked you to come through today because I want us to actually have an educational conversation around mining.
Around mining, yeah.
People that don't know, or people that do know, some that have seen you on the virtual Mkuku.
Yeah.
And maybe let me start there. I was pissed. You were pissed.
I was pissed too.
We did an episode on the virtual Mkuku. One of the first episodes. It did crazy numbers. I think in a few days it was over 30,000, 40,000 views. Next thing, the episode is taken down.
And we don't know why.
I still don't know why. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing or if it was some admin issue at the back from our side.
And we didn't mention anything that maybe names or controversial or anything. It was pure educational and people loved it. I mean, you could read that.
Yeah, I've been wanting us to sit down again and unpack mining.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, you're a mining engineer by profession and hopefully you'll give us a bit of context about that. I'll allow you to
I'm a trapper by living.
Trapper.
I'm a trapper by living.
What does being a trapper mean?
Free soul.
Okay.
You know, it's trappers live a very beautiful life. They live a life that they don't care about other people's opinions, but their opinions matters most to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a trapper, you live a very good life, man. You don't worry about. You don't go and kill yourself because someone said you're ugly.
Johnny Walker.
You couldn't give a shit whether you're ugly or not, you know?
Johnny Walker, keep walking.
Keep walking.
Because to trap in Afrikaans is to walk. So a trapper is just a walker who keeps flowing.
Just keep walking. I mean, walk through your problems, walk through your successes, walk through anything.
Yeah.
You know, you take all the challenges as they come. Life is not a straight line. You know, a lot of people want good things to happen to them. But life is not like that. I mean, the bad things you must take as well because they quite important for your growth. A lot of bad things have happened to me. A lot of good things have happened to me. I embrace both.
I forget that you're a motivational speaker. Motivation. And you've got 2 books. Another thing which I hope you'll mention in your introduction.
Yeah, I've got 2
no,
books.
Let me let you introduce yourself. Then I'll do this a quick summary on the history of mining in South Africa.
So, Ngcangca, mining engineer. by profession.
What did you study?
What did I study?
Where did you study?
Oh, I studied it was Vets Tech first, then it converted to UJ. So there's 3 institutions in South Africa that you can go study mining. It's Vets University, University of Pretoria, and UJ now. I know UNISA does a bit of it, but I think you can start up until the diploma level at UNISA. Yeah.
There's no Poch, Northwest University, Mpumalanga.
Nothing.
Because there's mines there in those places. Limpopo, there's mines.
There's actually mines. I mean,
Northern Cape.
Top 3 provinces where mining activities happening hectically. It's Northwest, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, and you don't find the mining institutions there.
Okay, yeah. So you're a mining engineer by profession. You've written 2 books.
Yeah,
which are on Take a Lot. We'll do a little promo now.
Yeah,
Take a Lot. If you can please just speak about your books quickly.
Yeah, so I wrote the first book, Before You Get Married, and I actually wanted to sell only 100 copies. I printed 100. I wanted to sell 100. That was the end of it, but I ended up selling a couple of thousands, and I was quite happy, and most of the sales were hand to hand, and posting books to people and selling them directly. And because I love selling, and selling is difficult, And
yes.
People, when I say I love selling, people must not think that selling is easy. Selling is actually very difficult.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, you become comfortable with selling, and you start to understand that if you don't learn the skill of selling and you want to get into business, you're going to have problems.
It's never going to work.
Because when you sell, you get rejected.
Of course, 99%.
When you sell, you get rejected, and that builds your character when you get rejected. I mean, someone buying it does not really contribute much in terms of your growth. It contributes towards your financial growth, but not you as a person in terms of character building. When someone says no, and you are a business person and you're selling, you learn more from the no that you get from that. So I was quite excited, I was happy. I mean, more than 100 books. And but the second one, it was From Rags to Freedom of Life. And the reason for that is because for me, it was a catchy title, because when someone reads it, you will think that it's From Rags to Riches, which is not, because people confuse riches with freedom of living.
100%.
So that's where the book... that's the angle of the book. So it's quite a good book. I mean, it was released 2020, 1st July on Take a Lot, and that first quarter it was the best selling.
Crazy.
So, and I didn't expect that.
We need to sit down at some point, please, if you don't mind, and unpack each book. I want you to unpack the book on marriage, and I want us to speak about marriage and commitments and relationships, and then I want us to unpack
the freedom of living.
Your life, it's a beautiful story. And I actually think it's a story that you need to tell on a regular basis. Because you might find, I've got 13 books that I've written. You find that when you read some of your books, you're shocked, like, hey,
this can't be me.
This can't be me. And sometimes you're also like, hey, blind, lente palwela.
Hey, so I wonder.
Sure. So maybe not on this platform, maybe on this platform, we'll see.
Yeah.
Became a mining engineer,
and by chance, by the way. So it started. I went for an interview, and I got this bursary. Then so these guys will take you through it's not really a bridging school, but they take you through a year of assessing you if you've chosen the right thing. So
the right career choice.
The right career choice. So okay. I chose mechanical engineering because I wanted to major into aeronautics, aeronautical engineering,
What's aeronautical engineering?
Designing planes and etc.
Crazy. Okay.
So I had more interest that side of the world, and then I started applying for more bursaries, because when we were supposed to go to university the following year, the company that took 34, 36 of us decided that they won't take all of us to school.
Yeah.
So they will take a portion of us and give them bursaries, but the rest we need to apply outside.
Okay.
So I applied outside for mechanical engineering. Loanmin interviewed me. I went there. final interview, I think it was like over 3,000 applications. They wanted 12.
Jeez.
And they wanted 12. It was 7, I think it was 7 blacks and 5 whites.
There was a quota. They needed a certain number. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So this guy comes to me. I'll never forget his name. Steph Standard. He says to me, big guy, Afrikaans guy, he says to me, Siya, I don't think you will be a good mechanical engineer. So I'm confused. I'm young, man. It's like, I think you'll be a good man. I don't know what's mining engineering then. I've never heard of it. Nothing. I don't come from a family where I know people that worked at the mines or anything. So I know nothing about it. So this guy says that I think you'll be good. So I'm thinking, what the hell, mining? So I start now asking questions and I realize I'm going to work underground. I've got issues going underground itself. So I ended up, taking it. So they gave me a contract. I looked at it. I was very broke. I saw that they're going to pay me. I said, hey, it looks like a good career. I'm going for it. Yeah. And that's how I got into mining. But I hated it, the more I studied mining, at varsity, I actually hated mining. And I remember a friend of mine saying, Siya, you can't, because I kept on applying, Eskom, Telkom, doesn't matter who. And it happened that when I finished my first year, I did so well. So this guy was like, hey, you're going to waste your time. Just finish this thing. If you want to study something else, you're going to study something else. But, you're here now.
Rather just finish once.
Just finish once, yeah. So
why did you hate mining engineering?
Because
as a course.
Because the more I read about it back then and the exposure that I received, it was not what I wanted. It's working underground. Didn't make sense to me. And I had limited information about mining. And that's why I hated it. It's not that I knew anything bad or whatever. I just had little exposure and knowledge, so I just didn't like it. And the fact that now I can't study what I wanted to study, and that added to that. But I'm grateful and I'm glad that I'm here and that I continue to study mining engineering, because I think I love it, and I think it is the backbone of a whole lot of things, and it's quite interesting. And I mean, you can work in the bank as a mining engineer. You can actually work anywhere, and you start to realize that. And mining is not only for mining engineers; it's for everybody. Accountants, economists, doesn't matter. Everybody, we all come together and contribute towards producing a certain commodity for the betterment of all of us.
Let me read this history here, so we can kick off the conversation officially. This is from Wikipedia, and I know a lot of people hate Wikipedia as a source, especially tertiary institutions. What I used to do at varsity is I always used to write my essays from Wikipedia, but Wikipedia does this thing because it's got these numbers next to some of the things. I don't know if you use Wikipedia.
The blog,
There's those numbers, and those numbers, when you click on them, they take you to the articles at the bottom.
Yes.
So I'd use Wikipedia, but then in my essay, I would go to the official reference.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, Wikipedia. Mining in South Africa was once the main driving force behind the history and development of Africa's most advanced and richest economy. Large-scale and profitable mining started with the discovery of a diamond on the banks of the Orange River in 1867 by Erasmus Jacobs, and the subsequent discovery and exploitation of the Kimberley Pipes a few years later. Gold rushes to Pilgrim's Rest and Barberton were precursors to the biggest discovery of all, the Main Reef/Main Reef leader on Gerhardus Oosthuizen's farm Langlaagte, Portion C, in 1886, the Witwatersrand gold rush, and the subsequent rapid development of the gold field there, the biggest of them all. Diamond and gold production are now well down from their peaks, though South Africa is still 5th in worldwide gold production, but remains a cornucopia of mineral riches. Cornucopia is basically a plenty of something, of mineral riches. It is the world's largest producer of chrome, manganese, platinum, vanadium, and vermiculite. It is the second largest producer of ilmenite, palladium, rutile, and zirconium. It is also the world's 3rd largest coal exporter. South Africa is also a huge producer of iron ore. In 2012, it overtook India to become the world's 3rd biggest iron ore supplier to China, the world's largest consumers of iron ore. Due to a history of corruption and maladministration in the South African mining sector, ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe announced at the beginning of 2013 that mining companies misrepresenting their intentions would have their licenses revoked. In 2019, the country was the world's largest producer of platinum, the world's largest producer of chromium, the world's largest producer of manganese, the second largest world producer of titanium, the world's 11th largest producer of gold, the third worldwide producer of vanadium, the 6th largest world producer of iron ore, the 11th largest world producer of cobalt, and the 15th largest world producer of phosphate. It was the world's 12th largest producer of uranium in 2018. There's other things I'll read, but I think I'll stop there for now, because what I'm going to read after we chat is I want to speak about Cecil John Rhodes and some of the names. Or maybe let me say this as a closing. As of 2007, the South African mining industry employs 493,000 workers. The industry represents 18% of South Africa's $588 billion US gross domestic product, which is our GDP. That was in 2007.
Yeah, I think now the GDP has dropped to I think 419 billion
US dollars.
US dollars, yeah.
GDP gross domestic product, if South Africa was to be a company, is basically how much our company has made in a year, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. And mining in 2007 contributed 18%. I believe it's gone down.
It's gone down now. I think it's sitting at 7.6 or something like that. And it's due to a whole lot of issues with Pen. I mean, geopolitics.
What's geopolitics?
Geopolitics is the influence that you get from sort of different countries and politicians, etc.
Okay.
Certain decisions that are being made, especially, for example, environmental stuff that they affect.
A lot of the guys that I know in business hate environmental requirements.
And now there's a new term that have introduced, ESG or whatever. So everybody needs to, if you don't comply to that, and people won't do business with you, etc.
What's ESG?
It's environmental, social governance or something like that.
And in South Africa, before you carry on, this is what makes business tough for foreigners. But it's for foreigners coming in. But even for South Africans, it's frustrating. You come in here and you get told about black economic empowerment.
Yeah.
So you need to empower blacks. Now we're being told about ESG, environmental, social, what.
Yeah.
All of these things, if you can't tick boxes, you can't do business, you can't get licenses. It
makes it difficult. I think for me, the biggest thing I think that now it's going to cause problems is the workforce. We have issues of skill. When I say skill, I'm talking about technical skills, etc. And for me, it's like there's a whole lot of people that don't have work and they went to university to study, etc. I'm not sure, because I've not read a sort of a document where they separate to say people that have studied mechanical engineering. So mechanical, you can do N1, N2, N3, and you become an artisan and whatever.
Yeah.
That so many percentage of that, they don't have work, because we've got issues around that. Huge. I mean, if you go to the Northern Cape, for example, it's a bloodbath whereby Penuel has a sort of an engineering company, steals from Usia, and Usia steals from this person, but we're all working for the same clients, and it's a problem. And now if you go to like
steal what, money?
No. They steal like people, like they take employees from poaching. Qualified.
Stealing, baby, corruption.
No.
Poaching employees.
Poaching employees from other companies, and that is pushing, because that creates a demand, right? But I think for me, it's an artificial demand, because it pushes the pay scales of those skilled workers, mechanics and stuff. Yeah. And when it pushes it up, at some point, it's gonna come down. And now, how do you were earning 750,000, a million rand, and you were supposed to earn 550,000 a year, and now you're earning double.
Yeah.
When everything goes down, who you gonna work for? Because people are not gonna afford you.
Of course.
And that's gonna cause a problem. So, but there's certain things that causes issues in the money. I mean, AI as well. there's a lot of innovation that I think the mining industry itself in South Africa is quite slow to adapt to. And there's a whole lot of reasons, political reasons whereby people say that if you bring autonomous trucks in South Africa, you're going to kill sort of employment, etc. Australia is doing it. I mean, the model in Australia is in such a way that the person who operates a dump truck, those big trucks, 100-tonner, 150, 200-tonner trucks, the person that operates that...
Sorry to step in. No, please carry on.
Yeah. So
I'm just trying to think in my head of what that looks like, because I used to have Hyundai H100 and K2700 trucks, 1.3 ton. The ones that people normally see. So mawuthi 100, 200 ton truck. Because ngazi lawa makhulu, lawa 34. Sorry. Please continue.
One tire is over 300,000 rands.
To buy a tire?
To buy a tire. Not with the rim, just a tire. And you need 6 of them, in a truck. But in any case, so...
These are the things that keep us out of mining, by the way. The cost of entry into the space.
It's
sorry,
huge.
please.
You need investors for you to be able to do that. So
you're still trying to explain why mining doesn't contribute as much to GDP. I think at the peak it was at 20-something.
It was 21.
And now you're saying we're at 7-8%.
7-8%.
And you're explaining ESG, environmental, is part of the issue. Maybe PE, maybe labor unions.
PE as well. Labor unions.
You're mentioning AI, and now you're speaking about Australia and how they mine different to us.
Yeah. So the person that operates the dump truck, right? Because they understand it's an expensive machine. Imagine you put someone who does not have sort of technical skills or even metric to operate a 45 million rand truck.
So entirely 300,000. Yeah. The truck itself is 45 million.
45 to 50, depending. So now you've got and
how much is a Pukadi? A Pukadi is 17 million. It's $1 million.
Yeah.
That's the most, Bugatti Veyron is the most expensive car, I think, in the world. And you're telling me these trucks are multiples. Hey, but at least I can...
And then you give it to someone who his living conditions are questionable. A guy that probably is a taxi driver after work trying to make more money, etc. That person comes and operates that truck, and it's so expensive. So in Australia, what they do is that when you operate a truck, dump truck operator, it's the same person that also does servicing of that truck. So he looks after the truck. So his incentive and the way he gets paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because it's the person he looks after. It's like his own. The more tons or the more production that comes from it, and he also gets incentivized based on that. So and what they do as well is that now they've got control room operators where they sit and operate these trucks while sitting in the control room because of
so it's
safety.
remote control.
Remote control.
You're not in the truck itself.
No.
Hectic.
But
in South Africa we still drive.
No, in South Africa
you have a person driving the trucks.
It's still manual, yeah.
Okay.
It's still manual. So Australia, Canada, they've sort of moved in terms of innovation, and there's also something that it's a theory of constraints.
Okay.
In mining, so there's theory of constraints for the underground mines. I've studied theory of constraints in open pit mining, which is something quite solid, and we hardly implement it and it's quite a proper innovative thing. And I think for me, that's gonna be something that the day I unleash it, so to different mining companies, it's going to be something big for South Africa.
You want to become a $1 billionaire. So I must become a very good friend of yours now.
I'm not really too fascinated about money. I just want to add value to the system.
Safelela. You also want to go into politics with this diplomacy. There's a couple of things that I'm thinking about. Number one, economics by definition is the study of scarce resources.
Yeah.
So when you say something like theory of constraints, a constraint for me sounds like limitations of something. And you're saying it can apply in different industries. So are you speaking about the scarcity of things or the limitation of certain things in mining?
Limitation. So mining companies in South Africa take too long to adapt to innovation, technology, etc. So
do you think that's on purpose? Or do you think...
I think there's constraints like... if you look at if you take a global view, there's constraints of politics, etc. So mining companies would like to bring same technology that Australia has, but there's this thing of unemployment and whatever. You know, our unemployment rate now, I think it's between 30 and 40, somewhere there. So
for some people, it's 52 to 54, depending on what you see. Because the 30, 40 you see in the news is only people that are looking for work.
And I mean, if you
they don't count people that are not looking for work.
If you go to Makasete, I mean, there's a whole lot of people that don't look for work.
Makasete kasi?
Yeah. No, it's just any kasi. It's call it Makasete.
It's called Makasete?
Yeah, it's a trap language.
Oh, snap. Trapping all day, boy.
So all I'm saying is that we need to get to a point whereby we start fast tracking and finding means and ways to create work with technology.
Yeah.
You know, and implementing things like theory of constraints. Theory of constraints, it's when you go through a process. So every process, it's got the start point and the end point.
Yeah.
And in between, a lot of things happen. The end point is an output.
This is like driving a car. So
yes.
Sualana, we have Epitoli,
in between
and there's a highway.
Robots, there's other
traffic,
maniacs,
accidents,
and whatever. Yes. Okay. So the constraint in the system, it would be in mining. So when you start, you say you drill, you blast, you load, you haul, you crush, you process, you sell.
Please say that again slowly. So the journey of mining is?
You drill.
Okay.
Hole, you put an explosive in that hole.
Okay.
You blow it. And then once it's blown, you load it into a truck in an open pit environment.
Yeah.
You load it. You the waste, you dump it on the waste dump. The ore, you dump it on the romped.
On the?
Romped.
What's that?
Run of mine. It's where you dump the
valuable stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So it's called a romped.
Then from there you crush it.
Okay.
Once you've crushed it, and then from there you process it. There's a whole lot of process there.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, then you sell the product, whether you load it into the train.
Yeah.
And then you go sell it. But now we've got issues with our rail system.
This is raw material, by the way.
This is raw material, yeah.
So after you say processing and then sell, you're still selling raw, not refined.
Not
That's
refined,
another
yeah.
process.
That's another process.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and Ombalula then went and they destroyed Transnet. Now we don't even have a railway network.
I'm telling you, I think we you know, I say to people, we're driving through a tunnel with our headlights off. And that's dangerous, because if this thing is not being fixed, we're gonna have an issue. We're going to have a huge surplus of a product that we can't sell. Transport.
I want to speak, man. Yazi.
You know, so it's a huge issue. Those are the things that as well, when someone thinks of investing, I mean, there's a lot of companies that slowly are pulling out, you know, out of South Africa, because when they do their studies and forecast and whatever, they realize that it's a good environment, it's a beautiful country, etc. But there's certain things that are not working because of that whole rail system. I mean, look at the trucks that are going to Richards Bay. If I don't know,
traffic at the harbor, then.
Yeah, I don't know when last you
by
drove.
Traffic, it means that there's material that's sitting.
Yeah,
that is waiting
and
to
there's
move.
Trucks. I mean.
I've got so much to say. So I'll start here. This one is a bit easier. We had an amazing gentleman here, Sfiso Madondo. He's in construction. He used to own a taxi. When you spoke about the 45 million rand, 100 to 200 ton truck, truck, and how you guys incentivize, or how they incentivize, is it in Australia or here?
Yes, in Australia. No, here we pay you a salary.
Sfiso made this example that when he was in the industry, he realized that taxi drivers are going to give you whatever money you want, and then they're going to drive and make their own money, but they're going to destroy the taxi.
Yes.
And he came up with this system where he said, whatever servicing and maintenance, we go 50-50, so that the taxi driver has an incentive to look after the taxi. Yeah. As much as he wants to make money, whereas my puga, it falls on him as well. Yeah. So for him, that helped protect his asset. Which is very important, and
that's a good model.
I'm just trying to think, because some of us invest in property, how you could do that in property, where you're like, if you take care of, now my brain is, so Adrian Gore of Discovery, healthcare, and they've gone into banking now, came up with this innovative model where you have medical aid, but we will incentivize your monthly premiums if you are healthy.
Yes.
So if you're on marathons, if you eat well, You will get money back, you'll get benefits, etc. And it became a world changer. It's won a lot of awards. King Price, I think, is an insurance company which, as your car gets older, your insurance premiums start going down.
Yes.
Which is innovative. I'm just trying to think from a landlord property owner, which if you say, if you take care of my property well and do the garden and maybe paint, maybe your rent goes down, some kind of incentive, because your biggest concern with giving a person an asset is that they want to destroy it and then it falls on you. So anyways, that's what Fiso Madonna, the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is I'd like, when you get a chance, when I'm done, for you to explain the different types of mining. I know we spoke about it on our platform before. You already explained open pit, and some people may not know what that means. Speaking about Transnet, I wanted to touch on Glencore as well, because I know Glencore supplies coal to Eskom. They supply diesel to Eskom via Astron Energy. And I know they've put their hand up to to be involved in fixing Transnet. You know, they've said that they want
to fix Transnet.
They want a public-private partnership to fix Transnet. You know, these are the guys that do business with Ishanduga. Cyril Ramaphosa. Anyways,
you had to say that.
I have to say it because it upsets me.
Yeah.
It upsets me. Anyways, you're speaking about this process and you speak about our railway systems and you speak about, these are the last 2 points. The first one being South Africa is not accelerating economically because of political reasons. Labor being a huge one.
Yeah.
You go to places like America where at a fuel station, you pour your own fuel. Yeah. So you don't have to wait. Lana siyalinda, kumele ulinda qede with the customer. You go to places in the UK, for example, in Europe, where some of the retail stores, what we call Pick and Pay, Woolworths, ShopRite, there's no cashier there. You pick up your groceries, you scan your groceries, you pay. Amazon has now come up with a concept store where as soon as you pick up an item, it already starts billing. Yeah. So when you walk out of the shop, it just finalizes your sale. It takes it from your account. We could have that technology. It's not that we can't. We could have it. The problem is it's going to kill jobs. And with that, tax, with that, people won't know what to do. So I can only imagine in spaces like mining.
Look, and they've started. I mean, if you look at, if you go to McDonald's, you would see that there's that self-service thing.
McDonald's.
And I think KFC as well, yeah.
Steers, Mr. Price.
But still, you go do it, then you go to the till. So it's not fully functional.
But they're testing it out.
They're testing it out, yeah. They're testing it out.
And it's gonna get worse. It's going to get so much, especially once...
We can't run away from it. We need to prepare for it.
Once the internet becomes fully fledged in this country and people start doing online shopping, people are not going to be going to shops anymore. We saw this with the lockdown especially. Checkers 60, I think it's called 60 app, Pick and Pay, ASAP, Woolies has got their own delivery, Take a Lot, Amazon, etc. Zulzi, I think, is a South African one. I think it's run by a black gent. So that's the one part. We're not accelerating. And I was at Home Affairs last week, and 2 security guards and then 5 people to process a passport application. Something that when I look at, in theory of constraints, when I look at that journey, I realize all of this could be done on my phone from anywhere I'm at, including things like fingerprints. Our phones have the capability, facial recognition. We can take our own photo, filling in things, confirming your address. It can even pick up your location and they can submit and then they can send the passport later on, maybe with a drone, for now, maybe with a scooter. And say, you can pick it up in one of these. Anyways, the technology that is out there in the world, people don't know.
It's huge.
That there's someone kind of holding it back and it's coming. Last week, I was listening to Loyiso Kola on YFM. And I don't know if he's fully moved to London. So Loyiso Kola is a comedian.
Yeah, I've heard that. He's moved.
Very popular South African comedian. I don't know if he's moved to London or if he shuttles between London and South Africa. And Loyiso was speaking about the South African economy and South African comedians and entertainers and artists are still so far behind because we can only stop performing to normal people 5 to 7 p.m. Anyone who's ever visited England, London, and gone to watch soccer games. The guys that go to the soccer games are riding the train. The subway systems, London, America, places like South Korea, they operate 24 hours and they are efficient. And he was saying it becomes expensive for a kid after 7 to go and perform Soweto and then a Midrand and then a Pitoli because you have to Uber. I'll say kama taxi, I'll kama bus. In London, he said you can do 6 shows around different places because you're just catching either 24-hour very good bus system or 24-hour rail system, which is super cheap. And the one thing he said, which is stuff we study in economics, is he was saying an economy essentially is just a transportation of goods. And he said people, which is / services. If you do not have transport of goods and people / services, you cannot have an economy. So if we speak about the village, where people have to catch a bus and then go catch a train and then go to town just to transact, then you look at a place like Johannesburg where you click on a phone and a scooter arrives, or you drive to a shop, or you fly somewhere. All of a sudden, the economy here can move faster. And he was saying, you cannot grow an economy without infrastructure. And he was explaining on that interview that South Africa's biggest problem is we can't build our economy because our infrastructure is
a mess.
Now non-existent and is being destroyed. You're trying to build a
but
first
try
world.
with the Rea Vaya.
So we can look at some of the wins, of course, if we were to discuss infrastructure. I'm
not sure if it's as effective as we wanted it to be, and how train and etc. So I'm not sure. But I think as well, you're 100% right. If we don't get to a point whereby we embrace innovation and technology, and we also create jobs. I mean, look at China. If you look at unemployment in China, I think it's 2% or 3%. You know, and we don't even know what that means. We don't even know what that means. And technology, if you go there, I mean, a guy who, when I was in China, the guy who plays a guitar on the street, and you don't pay him with cash. He's got a QR code and sitting there. If you want to pay him, you just go click.
Scan.
Then that's it.
And in China, everything is WeChat.
Everything is WeChat. So, and nobody's crying about that. Those people want technology to come.
Yeah.
And they've prepared themselves in a way that they accept that.
Yeah.
So for us, I think there's a whole lot of things that happened. Free stuff, government gives too much free things. That creates laziness in our minds because I know it might sound controversial, but if I'm a woman and I'm staying in my car or I look at my cassette and then I'm sitting there and I've got like 2 babies, I'm like calculating, okay, now the government is going to increase it to 500, so $1,000. 2 more babies, $2,000. Okay.
And you get $350 as well.
You understand what I'm saying?
Living in a free house.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that the systems that our government put in place, they are problematic to our growth and they are problematic to the way we need to live as people. And I'm not saying that South Africans are lazy. I'm just saying that our government perpetuates laziness.
It incentivizes.
Yes.
Because if you're productive, you can't get free things anymore.
Yes, you can't. If you go to other African countries, there's no grants or anything. Guys have to work.
If you don't work, you don't eat.
If you don't work, you don't eat. That's why they can come here and do better. Zamas is an example. Most of them, they come. It's an illegal thing, but most of them they come from Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, whatever. They come here and they take all the risk in the world and go in places that are closed and go try to mine in those places. It's closed places. They say that it's unsafe to mine. It's not economical to mine for a big company. There's still gold in there. It's not that there's no gold. There's still gold, but it's not economical for a bigger company to go and take it out because of overhead costs and other costs that comes to it. So the costs become more than the revenue that they can get from that. But it doesn't mean that there's no gold. So the guys still, the chance go there and do it. I know now it becomes a mafia thing and the communities that where those people are, they're not safe. There's a whole lot of other issues around it. The point I'm trying to make is that as South Africans, and it goes to the tuck shop industry as well, in any other industry, that other people from outside come here and take over. I mean, when I was in Tanzania, when I flew down to South Africa, I sat next to a guy who comes from, I think this guy comes from Zambia or something. And I was talking to him, what were you doing in Tanzania? No, I just came to check my girlfriend and whatever the case might be. I said, seriously? He says, yeah. And this guy was like, I said, what are you doing in South Africa? So it's like, yeah, no, in South Africa, I run saloons in Durban.
Hair salons?
Yeah. I was like, hair salons. I said, how did you get here? He says, no, I walked. And how, he says, no, it took me many days. But he says when he got to...
Walked from where?
From Zambia. And then, but I think it says walked because he didn't have a car. So I'm sure he walked and he was getting hitchhiking and whatever. But he came to South Africa not via maybe a bus or a flight or anything like that. But he took risks to come here because he realized that there's a whole lot of opportunities here that we don't see, people that live here. So the guy came in and he started to be a car guard inside of Mpumalanga, but he was working himself to come to Joburg. So he made a bit of money, he came to Joburg. When he got here, he says that there was, in a very small room, maybe half of this, 10 of them were sleeping there. The guys that are car guards, when he came here as well, he was a car guard, but he had in his mind, he had a goal. So he wanted to keep a certain amount of cash so that he can be able to open a hair salon. And he says that it's 10 of them sleeping there. So they do hot bed, changes. So this guy sleeps so many hours, then he goes and hustles.
Night shift.
Night
shift when you are
100%.
That happens in Hong Kong, by the way.
So I was like, seriously? So I was so interested. So the guy was like, no, I run salons, I make good money. One salon makes over 70K and I'm married to a Zulu girl, etc. And then I'm living a good life.
Zulus have the best wives, by the way. I used to be Zulu, I've left, but Zulu women, solid.
I don't know about that.
Zulu women, actually all Nguni women, too solid.
Yeah. So I think there's something in our brains as South Africans that is happening to us so that we don't see what those other people are doing. If that guy, I'm sure that guy is huge by now. If he started so small with nothing, literally nothing.
Do you know people look at that guy and will say he sells drugs?
Yeah. That's the first thing because, it's impossible in our minds.
He must be fronting. Salon, 70,000.
Yeah, no.
And Klampu now 5. Mine now 10. That's 700K a month. He must be selling drugs. That's the mentality we have.
That's the mentality. There's a lot of money. He sells weaves, he does nails, cuts hair, does a whole lot of other services, and he gives people free internet so that everybody goes to his salon. So he's quite innovative. So he was telling me the whole story and how happy he is now in South Africa. He's got a family. He was
going to see his girlfriend in Tanzania.
Yeah.
He's got a Zulu wife. 1 + 1
equals 24.
Sorry.
So the point I'm trying to make is that we need, and it goes to our industries as well, mining as well. Part of it is that our people, when they don't want, and I'm not sure if it's deliberate or not, or is it because our government sort of perpetuates that behavior, they don't want to get involved in finding solutions. They want to get involved in making noise about the problem. And they don't want to be part of their solution. So if you now start a mine in Rustenburg, you go through the process of DMR, you apply for the
DMR is the Department of Mineral Resources.
Yeah, DMRE now. They put energy, yeah.
Oh, Babu Kwede.
Yeah. So you go through that process. There's quite a lengthy process, not an impossible process. And then from there you go and you explore the place, which is now when you do exploration falls under resources. So you go to a place and say that this area has so much resources, and you go explore those resources, right? And then once you've explored, you move over to reserves, whereby now you say, okay, fine, that's where the development of mining comes in. And because now you've moved over, you've realized that there's reserves there that are probable that you can be able to go and extract, and you need to find a perfect method to extract them. So when you go through that process, you'll realize that the perfect process to extract them, it's either through an open pit mining method or through an underground mining method, whereby you sink a shaft and you go underground and you get the available resources.
What are the differences between
reserves?
Open pit and underground?
Underground. So open pit mining is it's where you extract available minerals from the ground, but you don't sink a shaft. The reason for that is because it's economical for you to do it that way, because the available minerals, they outcrop. So they're almost on surface.
Okay.
Then you can be able to, it's a perfect method for you to be able to use to do that, so that you can extract it. I'll give you an example. You do have underground coal mines.
Okay.
As an example, you've got open pit coal mines.
Yeah.
If you look at the price of coal right now, the cost of mining coal up until you sell it, it's sitting between $70 and $80. Okay.
A ton.
Per ton.
Okay.
Yeah, the cost of
cost of getting coal
out, yeah. And the price right now, it's sitting at about 120, 135 US dollars per ton.
So 1,360 to mine, and then you say 100 to sell?
It's to sell 135 right now. But a lot of people.
So 2,300, 1.3, 1.4 to mine, and
so it's like 100% profit.
Okay.
So a lot of people last year it peaked to over $300 per ton
for a ton of coal.
Yeah, last year.
I'm thinking when you say open pits and underground, that it's almost like amanzi. There's people that fetch water from the river. That's like open pit, and then there's people with boreholes.
They fetch it from underground.
Sure. So it's
to simplify it.
Okay.
So the underground part of it, the available minerals, they sit way below the ground.
Because everyone's taken the water here at the surface.
So they sit way. Sure. So you need to find a method to be able to sink a shaft and have tunnels and have stopes. Stopes is where the guys will go drill, blast, and get the available stuff, and then take it out with the cage or skip. So that is the difference between the two.
You've gone underground?
I've gone and I hate it. I've gone underground, yeah.
The deepest
3.6 kilometers.
Huh?
Yeah.
The deepest mine we have.
Yeah. And the second one is 3.4 kilometers. Can you imagine a kilometer in your mind?
I want to do something.
A kilometer in your mind. I mean, it's 1,000 meters, right? So can you imagine 3,600 meters down, and I need to go? There's no way I'm going there. So I'll stick with the open pit mining. So open pit mining.
I find the height of Kilimanjaro.
I drive inside the mine, and it's all good. I can still see the sun. I know underground people will disagree with me, but they don't see the sun. When I'm in open pit, I see the sun, and I can drive out. I see life.
Mount Kilimanjaro is close to 6 kilometers high.
So half of.
And you're telling me it's almost 4. It's almost like climbing Kilimanjaro, but
down.
Backwards.
Yeah.
Which is more dangerous because you're not even out in
vertically, not like this or anything. Straight down.
Do you have any idea how long it takes to get to the bottom of?
So I think I've spoken to people that have not gone there.
Do they go down in one day and come back up, or do they stay there?
No, one day. I mean, you work shifts.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you work 12-hour shift, you'll go down at a certain time, depending from mine to mine.
Sure.
So what I've heard when I was speaking to guys that have gone there is that it's not because you cannot get a cage that can go straight for 3.6 kilometers. You go, get to a certain level, you get off, you get onto another one, you get off, you get onto another one. So it's a step off, then you go down.
I know there's lifts like that in high skyscrapers.
Yes.
Where you get to certain levels, you have to catch another.
Yeah. So for me, I won't be able to do that. I when I worked underground at Lone Min, I always felt uncomfortable I always felt that this thing can just, because I mean, who's holding it? They say, now it's few roof bolts and so that was for me because I'm acrophobic. So I couldn't work in acrophobic.
Acrophobic, which is a fear of
heights.
Okay.
Yeah. So and fear of heights, especially if something is moving. Can you imagine that thing moves at heights? I think I don't know. I think it was 16 meters per second or something like that. It moves, you know. So for me, it's I couldn't take work, and so I resigned. I left Clonmin. I said, thank you for taking me to school. I'm going to look for something different. I've never went back, and I won't go back. So those are the different types depending on what minerals and how far down those minerals are.
Yeah.
So you differentiate between the two, and it needs to be economical to you because you're doing business. You know, price of gold right now, it's sitting at almost $2,000 per ounce. So, and
2,000 times 17. Siphila kanzima in this country. Sirich kodwa siyahlupheka. 34,000 rand an ounce of gold.
Yeah.
Ngathi ungihamba utshontsha ama-gold tooth abantu uhlanganise i-ounce.
And I mean, there's one mine. I was very close to the guy that was doing evaluation. Was telling me, you know, our cost here, all in sustaining cost, up until we sell, it's about $650 US per ounce, and now it's sitting at almost 2,000. Can you imagine? So it's crazy. So it's crazy. For underground, it will probably sit at just over 1,000 because the cost is quite high. But also for underground mines, the grade, grams per ton, they're quite high as well. So it compensates for that.
The quality.
There, no, not quality.
The grade is not quality.
It's so how many grams per ton you can get. How many grams of gold you can get per ton. So some mines you will get 5, 6, 7, which is very good.
Okay.
Some mines you can get in open pit mining. There's mines where you get 1 gram per ton.
But so it's almost like ukupa, a lot of rubbish, and how much good stuff can you get out of there? That's how you grade.
That's how you
grade. Grade is not the quality.
No, the quality is different. The quality is carats. I mean, 23 carats, 24, 15, 9, whatever. That's the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this part so that I don't forget. One of the things I saw earlier when I was doing some of the research was the numbers. 130, I think, I don't know if it's open pit mines. There's almost like 100 underground mines in this country. And then there's like 80 something, a mix of both. Because we live in South Africa, but we don't know this data. Like the data I was reading about that we're number 1 in chrome, manganese, platinum. People don't know these things. And we don't even know some of these minerals or vanadium and the like. Let me read the second part and then I'll switch off my phone. Because now we're speaking into some of the political stuff that normally upsets people. And what I'd like from you, if possible, is to maybe speak about some of the major mines that we have in this country.
Yeah.
And then speak about some of the big players in this country. But let me read this first because this is a bit of history. Diamond and gold discoveries played an important part in the growth of the early South African economy. A site northeast of Cape Town was discovered to have rich deposits of diamonds, and thousands of white and black people rushed to the area of Kimberley in an attempt to profit from the discovery. I realized in the research that there were black people that were mining on their own to buy cows, to buy guns, etc. I think I always assumed that when colonizers came through, that it was only white people that were mining. So I thought that was interesting. The British later annexed the region of Griqualand West, an area which included the diamond fields. Yeah. In 1868, the Republic attempted to annex areas near newly discovered diamond fields, drawing protests from the nearby British colonial government. These annexations later led to the First Boer War of 1880 to 1881. Native Africans had been mining gold in the Witwatersrand area since prehistory. I find that word quite funny. Prehistory. Native Africans had been mining gold in the Wits area since prehistory. So according to them, history only starts
when the English and Afrikaners
when the colonizers
came through.
Get you. So before that, it's called prehistory. When white settlers first found this gold for themselves in 1886, it triggered what would become the Witwatersrand gold rush of 1886. Like the diamond discoveries before, the gold rush caused thousands of foreign expatriates to flock the region. This heightened political tensions in the area, ultimately contributing to the Second Boer War in 1899. Ownership of the diamond and gold mines became concentrated in the hands of a few entrepreneurs, largely of European origin, known as the Randlords. South Africa's and the world's biggest diamond miner, De Beers, was funded by Baron Nathaniel Meyer Rothschild in 1887, and Cecil Rhodes became the founding chairman of the board of directors in 1888. Cecil Rhodes' place was later taken by Sir Ernest Oppenheimer, co-founder of the Anglo-American Corporation, with J.P. Morgan, one of the founders of America. The gold mining industry continued to grow throughout much of the early 20th century, significantly contributing to the tripling of the economic value of what was then known as the Union of South Africa. In particular, revenue from gold exports provided sufficient capital to purchase much-needed machinery and petroleum products to support an expanding manufacturing base. Yeah. During apartheid, Black South Africans were excluded from most skilled mining professions by the Mines and Works Act 1911. When you do the research, Cecil John Rhodes, huge in diamonds. Barney Bonato came into the diamonds and then later into the gold. Well. Sir Ernest Oppenheimer. These guys were funded by the Rothschilds family. J.P. Morgan, of which we still have J.P. Morgan Chase, a big bank, financier.
In America, yes.
Alfred Bate, big miner. Thomas Cullinan, who's got a town named after him. And I think the biggest diamond ever found, the Cullinan mine. If you look at the Oppenheimer legacy, Ernest, the son Harry, the next son who's alive now, Nicky.
And you must also mention your mate, Rob.
The Hersoffs, the Hersoff family. I mean, the Manel, Anglophile, Anglo-American, which has been huge in this country. And it was founded by Ernest Oppenheimer and the boys.
Yeah. So those guys have done, regardless how you feel, they've done extremely well. From they are entrepreneurs, they've done extremely well, regardless how you feel, whether they came here and they took what you believe that is yours or whatever. I mean, they've done extremely well. I mean, we need to learn from what they've done. We need to embrace what they've done because it made South Africa what it is today. I mean, if you look at South Africa now, in terms of GDP contribution in Africa, we're sitting at number 3, I think.
Egypt and Nigeria.
Nigeria's number 1, Egypt number 2.
Okay.
South Africa number 3, I think Algeria number 4.
We used to be number 1, boy.
We used to be number 1.
We're slacking.
And I mean, if you go back, if you draw a graph, what happened, what changed, and that caused I mean, people won't like it, but it is there. You know, so
what changed was with Nelson and the ANC. That's what the graph will show us.
So, but I think those guys have contributed hugely. They've done extremely well. I mean, Anglo-American now has more mines in South Africa than any other player. So
I think it's the biggest mining company by market cap.
Yeah, they're doing extremely well. They're doing good things, and I think we need to embrace that, regardless of history. We need to embrace that, and we need to move forward with that. Sibanye Stillwater as well. It has come up. I think it started in 2012 or 2009, somewhere there. But they're doing a great job as well. The biggest contributors, Siriti as well, biggest contributor to our economy, and Siriti and Exxaro now they are like supplying, I think, over 80% of the coal that is being supplied to Eskom.
Siriti
and Exxaro. Yeah.
Exxaro is the company, I don't know if you know, that had a huge BEE deal with Sipho Nkosi.
Yes.
I think at some point was at the helm. The other one is Siriti. Do you know who's in charge there? Is it the one with Dr. Anna Mokhokong? You don't know?
It's no, Siriti is there's Mike Teke is part of it. He's from Guatemala. He grew up in Guatemala. So it's quite a good story. Saga Bramike.
Sure.
He has done extremely well, in terms of holding up that company. And it's doing wonders,
Sure.
So we need to embrace these stories. We need to, we should not be questioning them and say, but I mean, because it's our narrative in South Africa to always complain about stuff, but we don't come up with solutions to replace what we're complaining about. So we need to change that narrative. These guys have contributed hugely to our industry, created jobs, created industries that has lasted for a very, very long time. That us being called native South Africans, we've not created at all. in fact, some of the things that have been created by those guys, we've destroyed them, which is quite sad. So for me, I think we need to embrace all the people that you've mentioned. We need to embrace what they've done. There's a lot of good that came from them. A lot of good that came from them. So we need to embrace things like that.
So Dr. Anna Mokhokong was one of the first beneficiaries of Black economic empowerment. With Abo Cyril Ramaphosa, Satima Zama, Patrice Motsepe, Mzi Khumalo. She's the executive chairman of Seriti. And when I look at the ownership, it's 91% Black owned. I see a company called Masimong Group. I don't know who that is. Tebe Investments, which I know is linked to the ANC, and it was one of the first, I think, BEE vehicles in this country. Zungu Investments is Zigo, which is Usandile Zungu, the owner of Amazulu Football Club. And he was one of the heads of the Black Business Council at some point. And I know he was part of the committee with COVID and the vaccine rollout and Community Investment Holdings. When I do the research, so one of the interesting things when you study the history of South Africa is obviously with this land. And before the colonizers or the colonialists came through, a lot of us were farming. And South Africa was largely agricultural. Then they found the diamonds, then they found the gold and then foreigners flocked in.
Found the platinum, the PGMs, etc.
Then they found the platinum and the whatever. And they started setting up these towns, Malahleni, Johannesburg, Kimberley, etc. And then you see these names come up: Cecil John Rhodes, Ernest Oppenheimer, Barney Bernardo, Alfred Byte, etc. And as the history goes, because now we become a mining country, to what you were saying, that everyone gets involved. If a mine comes up, you're going to need banks. You're going to need accountants. You're going to need lawyers. All the people working there need to send their kids to schools. The schools need sporting facilities. All of a sudden, there's a football club. There's a rugby club. There's workers there. So taxis need to travel. There's accommodation, property. And years later, when you're doing technology, when you're doing all these things, you can say it started because there was a mine. Like Johannesburg today, we could say our economy is based on services, but it was built off mining.
Yes.
Then we move with apartheid, and with apartheid, then the struggle. And then you see the ANC come up. And when you study, number one, Johannesburg, a lot of it was farms. I hear a lot of Oosthuizen, especially around where I live, Emmarentia, Montgomery Park, Linden. There was the Oosthuizen? Geldenhuys, sorry. There's Geldenhuys that owned a farm there. Melville Copies, West Park. You hear about the Oosthuizens, you hear about the Alberts, etc. As you're hearing now, the mines they found was Oosthuizen farm, Elanglaagte, which Kwawi Plaza. They come in, they mine, and then from there, these black guys come in who become this force. And almost like a mafia, because Anglo-American was big. And when you read the story of Barney Bernardo, he had to sell a stake to Anglo to protect him. Later on, Anglo, Barney, they set up JCI, Johannesburg Consolidated Investments, I think. If you look at Houghton, that area, there's the Wilds, which is a hiking spot. There's St. John's College, premier private school, King Edward School, premier public school. All of that was where the landlords were staying, Parktown, Westcliff, etc. When they moved on and these black guys came in, they were like, we need to give a piece to these guys as a form of protection from the black masses. That's when BEE was born. That's when this name comes. And look, considering the work you're doing, I obviously don't want to compromise you. And you saying we can feel however we want about these people because they've done well. But I wanted to speak about some of the names in mining. Black and white, maybe Indian, that we have today, and some of the names that people maybe may not know. We know Patrice. When you go on the internet, he's known as the wealthiest miner in South Africa, but I don't even know if he is. Patrice Motsepe, African Rainbow Minerals. He was given his slice by the Hersoffs, Anglo-Fal, the Manels, Anglo-Fal.
I think, he also, his company also contributed to my career, because when I started, when I left Lonmin, I went to join African Rainbow Minerals.
Lonmin is London Mining.
London Mining, yeah. So I joined.
That was still Ramaphosa. He had a stake there. I'll say it.
Shanduga. Sure. So they looked after me. So they sent me to the Northern Cape. I was quite excited. I learned a lot about open pit mining there, and so I think he has done business-wise, his business deals and stuff in terms of mining. He might not know the things, technical stuff that we talk about, trucks and whatever. He doesn't care. What
do you mean?
He does not. He might not know what a dump truck does or whatever, but he doesn't care because it's not his job is to invest in mining.
It's not important for him.
It's not important for him.
That's why he hires you guys.
Yeah, he hires us the workhorses.
Sure.
So we go do the job. So he's done, and he expanded that outside South Africa as well. He's got mines in Congo. And he's doing a great job in terms of from the business point of view. Yeah. People can say a whole lot of things that they're not sure that it's his or so.
That was Julius Malema that.
Yeah.
He was asked in court if Cyril and Patrice are billionaires, and he was like, I'm not sure, Your Honor, I'm not sure.
So I think as well, there's black players that have done extremely well.
Yeah. The DRC, by the way, is probably the wealthiest nation on earth from a minerals perspective.
Yeah, but it's so broken.
But it's broken.
Yeah, it's broken. Yeah. It's broken. It is actually, but it's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's opportunity, by the way, for real entrepreneurs.
It is, but
huge conflict.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity.
You must have a heart of steel.
We must visit the DRC and go develop our hearts. I think you said rejection builds character.
Yeah,
but we must go develop our character.
I don't want to die though. But
okay.
So I think mining generally in South Africa, Pen has a long way to go, and I think the reserves that we have, they amount to over 20 trillion.
20 trillion what?
Rands, or $20 trillion US, I think.
Of our minerals.
Yeah.
That are still sitting underground.
That are still sitting.
Waiting
that have
for
not been touched.
Them.
Yes. What has been proven. So the
20 trillion rand or 20 trillion US dollars.
20 trillion US dollars.
This is everything. Everything
coal, combined.
Platinum,
combined.
Gold, copper, cobalt.
Everything combined. Everything combined. I mean, I think we've got coal itself. We've got plus minus 10 billion metric tons that have not been touched.
That's enough power, Baba, for our great grandchildren.
Yeah, so we've got that. So I think we just need processes and systems to help us to be better with what we have. I mean, look at the amount of coal we're exporting. And I mean, Eskom doesn't need high grade coal. They need the lowest of the lowest to generate electricity, etc.
You said that grade is not quality.
No, it is. So let me explain. So if you
I'm still going to bring you back to some of the names. We're not going to run away from that.
So if you say grams per ton, how many grams you can get per ton? So the higher those grams are per ton, regardless of quality,
sure,
the better. Because what it means, because the grams they pay for the ton that you move.
Okay.
So if it costs you $20,000 to move 1 ton, okay, and you're only getting 1 gram, it means that you're moving that ton at a loss because you're moving it at $2,000 US. You're getting 2,000 revenue US dollars per that ton,
but it costs you 20.
But it costs you 20.
Yeah.
So the more grams you get per ton, depending on the cost, 20,000 is just an example. It's not that.
Sure, we export a high grade.
We export high grade.
And Eskom needs low grade.
No, Eskom just needs the lowest of the lowest. I mean, because they just ban it for power generation and other stuff.
So I made a video at some point on the virtual Ngcangca where I was breaking down electricity and creating the link between coal and electricity, because most people don't know how electricity is formed, even though we studied it basic in primary, but we kind of let it go that the whole point of the coal doesn't generate electricity. Coal is burnt so that it can boil water, so that the water can give steam, and the steam can help spin turbines, and the turbines plus magnet equals electricity. So you don't need ilahle. People think ilahle. No, we need something that will boil water.
It's just a source of something that will generate electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Sorry. 20 trillion. I want us, before we forget, to go back to
the names. Yeah.
Patrice Motsepe, I've mentioned Dr. Anna Mokhokong. People that don't know her should go and research her. You mentioned Mike Teke.
Yeah.
I know it with the BEE guys that came at the beginning.
I actually love what it does, Bro Mike. Yeah.
What does he do?
And no, running Siriti. He's doing a great job. And I think there's also women in mining. Daphne, he runs Khalahadi Manganese, the Northern Cape.
Daphne Nkosi.
Daphne, what's her name?
Lady.
It's a lady, yeah.
I think with Daphne Nkosi.
So she's
heavyweight. She's good friends with DJ Spoo, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. I think she's an ANC stalwart. She's one of the heavyweights in mining.
When you go to DJ Spoo.
Yes, Daphne Nkosi, another woman that people don't know about. Before Patrice, Bridget Mutsipe actually went into mining. Macau Mining, I think, is her company.
Yes, yeah.
So,
but she likes to keep it underground.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, and as well, Obosaki, they're doing a great job as well.
Saki?
Saki Makozo.
Yeah, I love mentioning his name.
Yeah.
I need you to say it.
Yeah. So they do a great job in the Northern Cape, I think, with manganese, and I think he's expanding what it does there.
He does mining in Australia,
as well.
Is my understanding.
As well. I think he invests in mining in Australia.
Okay.
So there's a difference in if you become an investor and become part of a mining company and you doing the mining itself. And I think it's a conversation for another day. But it is that he's fully fledged in terms of he's very invested when it comes to mining.
Yeah.
In South Africa as well. So there's other sort of big names. So the thing is that, Ben, when you look at a certain company, the person that comes in the forefront is not always the person that really owns the company itself.
Yo, can I make an example? Because this is a great point that you're raising.
Yeah.
Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa. His presidential salary is 3 million rand a year, plus perks, which might be 10 to 50 million. We don't know. Assuming he didn't have business interests and he was just the president, like Jacob Zuma. He just earns his salary and he gets his benefits. Then you look at our national budget, which is maybe 2 trillion rand a year. Of that 2 trillion, you might find there's 5 big players that do what we call procurement if you're white, tenders if you're black. And you might find
Why is it like that? Why is it like that? I mean, that's not fair.
It's the media and it's propaganda.
Okay.
And it's one of those things.
Okay,
you know, when it's black people, it's corruption. When it's white people, it's irregularities. We know this. This is the racial legacy we've had to endure as a nation. So these 5 companies, we'll use examples, Bidvest, Marion Roberts, etc. You might find each of them of the 2 trillion are maybe making 50 billion a year. So your point is Cyril is the face of South Africa. So, hey, must be making money. And you might find the people making the money are actually the service providers to government.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're kind of saying something similar, that just because Patrice owns the mine doesn't necessarily mean he makes the most money.
He doesn't make
the coach of Real Madrid, Barcelona may not be earning as much as Messi, Ronaldo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the point. So there's a lot of guys that are well known, but there's guys that are really, 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 really making the money.
Who are those guys and what do they do? Oh, let's for the sake of the platform.
Yeah. I'm actually very careful mentioning names, actually.
I'll mention the names. I'll mention some of the names. I was hoping you'd add some. Before we get back to the names, I'd like you to please break down.
The podcast might be removed again.
The haters. I want you to break this down. I want us to touch on some names, and then I want to ask a few questions on Zama.
Yeah.
I'd like you to break down, there's a piece of land which happens to have resources under it. And the different role players in terms of land ownership, who gets to get a license, who gets to mine, who supplies services, who buys. If you could please break that down. Because the assumption is, if my house has gold, I find gold in my yard, that means it's my land, therefore it's going to be my mine. I'm going to be mining, I'm going to be selling the gold, I'm going to become rich.
Yeah.
But it seems there are different role players in that chain.
So the law of South Africa says that all the minerals below surface, they are owned by the government.
All minerals.
Everything. So the government
below, even on top. If I find a diamond on my yard,
no,
it falls under below.
Yeah, so they are owned by the government. So you do not have to extract or to take any minerals without having a license or rights to do it.
If I dig in my backyard and I find a diamond, that diamond doesn't belong to me. I can't sell it.
You become a Zama because now you are a chance taker. That's what Zama stands for.
In my backyard.
In your backyard.
Okay.
So you can own the land. That is why a lot of farmers that own land, farms, the companies go and buy those farms, you know.
Okay.
And at a reasonable rate, you cannot just say that because you don't even know how much of that is there.
Sure.
Because you still need to explore. So the only thing the guys will say, this belt of coal, it's here and it's good coal. And it's this side as well. But there's this farm in between. I'm sure it goes.
Sure.
There's a belt going here.
Probabilities.
Yeah, the probabilities that it's there. So then they will go apply to the government. The government will give them the exploration rights. They go explore and
No,
check
please
the
slow
resources.
it down. Sorry. I have a farm. I find a diamond or a piece of gold by accident. We're digging for a borehole, for example. What happens? I have to report.
You have to report.
To who?
To the DMRE.
The Department of
Minerals
Mineral
and
Resources and Energy.
Yeah.
And then they send, who are the people they send to do the exploration?
No, look, then that's
Is it
a different...
exploration or just the probabilities?
No, so what happens is that once you've reported, they will mark it. And once it's being marked, so if you use that scenario, they will then, so there will obviously be companies that will have interest because exploration is quite expensive. So for you to be able to go and explore, so the company must go apply to the DMRE to get exploration rights. Then
That's just to check.
That's
That's not to mine.
That's not to mine.
You need a license to go check.
And it's got time limitation.
Okay.
So you go and then you do it. The results, take the whatever samples to the lab, and then you say, okay, the resources in this area, they are so much. Maybe 2 million ounces of gold, as an example. That's what you think.
The exploration includes digging.
No, it's drilling.
Okay.
But in some instances, depending, people dig to explore.
Just to make sure. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then from there you go apply that, you get that. And once you're comfortable, because it's expensive, you go get investors to say, listen, I'm the company that has got exploration rights and I've applied for mining rights, but I don't have the money to do it. So
exploration and mining are separate.
Separate,
Different licenses.
Different licenses.
This is a license to explore.
This is a license to
found
extract.
Wealth. And then this is a license to mine, to extract.
Yes.
That's separate. You can get this and not get this.
You can get this and then sell it to someone who can go and apply to have a mining rights if you don't have appetite anymore. Because there's So for example, Australian companies in Africa, what they do now, they come as exploration companies and then they find whatever and then they convert later on to say, it's useless for us to sell this thing. They apply for mining rights, then they become mining companies, but originally they were not.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get that. And then from there, let's say you are a mining company, you hire an exploration company to come and drill, explore for you. And then after that, you apply for a mining license. Once you receive a mining license, then you go and look for investment. You go to Pen and say, Pen, you know what? I'll give you a 10% stake.
Yeah.
But the total investment for us to start this man is 10 billion rand.
Yeah, because the track is 45 on its own.
Yes. So as an example. So you come there and then a Pen says, okay, for the 10%, I'm willing to give you a billion.
Yeah.
Then they go to another person. But these guys themselves as well, they would say, okay, we would like to keep 50. The other 50, we are willing to give it to anyone.
Sure. Who can give us money.
Yeah. Or maybe sometimes they do have the money. They make a deal with the bank and the bank gives them the money, depending how credible you are.
Yeah.
So you then from there you start. That's why it's not easy for anybody to get into that space. And unless otherwise you do very, very small scale.
Yeah.
You go, you get the mining rights and whatever, backyard, Penuel, everything. It's paperwork, it's perfect.
Sure.
Then you're using wheelbarrows to move chrome. And then you sell it, you put it in piles. A truck comes, you talk to the Chinese, a truck comes, picks it up, you sell it to them at whatever.
I'm guessing that's how they started, and that's why there was a lot of exploited black labor before the big machines came through It was guys with wheelbarrows carrying and those things.
Yeah. And it's still happening in other places. I mean, they put it in...
Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Maybe Sudan. At some point, Rwanda. And probably parts of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Yes. I think more in those areas because it's not properly regulated. In South Africa, it happens, although it's properly regulated, but it still happens. People don't care. I mean, people don't know. If you go to Limpopo, people in their yards, they realize that they've got chrome. So they just dig and put it in front of their yard to sell to whoever that, So it's people don't know.
Yeah,
these things.
Know.
Yeah, they don't know.
I wanted to ask,
they feel it's their yard. I mean, they paid for it. I mean, you paid 100,000 to get that space.
It's my gold.
The chief or the king gave it to you, and etc. Sure. So why can't you take it and sell it? But the law doesn't allow for that. You need to go through proper channels.
I wanted to ask if the exploration guys only report on the potential minerals there, or do they also give the forecast of what it would cost to get it out? Are those other people?
So those are other people. So they will tell you how much of it is in there.
That's the exploration guys.
From the resource model, and then
they come and they report and they say this is how much is here. Now our job is done. Those are geologists.
They're geologists, yeah.
Okay. Then they're done. They don't do the forecasts of what it will cost the machinery.
Yes.
Who does that?
So it's different people. Mining engineers do that as well.
Yeah. So you see how much is here in Penuel's backyard.
Yeah.
And then you start working out the forecast and the various control, open pit, whatever.
Yes. So you start working out you first select the mining method. Once you've selected that, then you do your financial forecast in terms of how much it's going to cost you to remove that, and how much, because what those guys will give you essentially at the end is to say there's 3 grams per ton in this area, there's 4 grams per ton there's so many grams per ton there, there's this they will give you that information. Then you say, okay, if it's like that, then you go do your cost, and you say, okay, on average that whole area, if you want to mine it, we're going to get 3 grams per ton. Okay. And then they go do calculation how much it will cost to move 1 ton. If what's gonna cost to move 1 ton up until they process it, up until they sell it, it's gonna be 650, like I've made an example. And then they will then look at how much is the price of gold in case of gold. It's $2,000 per ounce, and then we'll say, okay, it's gonna cost us 650. We're good. We're good to go, because we've got 1,250
in profit,
or 1,350 gross profit. 1,350, and then that comes to you. Then that's good business. Then you say we need to go for it. But then you do other projections to say, you say what's going to happen to the price of gold in the next 5 years. Let's say the life of that mine is 10 years or whatever that you found. What's going to happen to the price of gold in the next 5-10 years? And also the reason why you need to do that, you need to, whatever money that you're investing to start, you need to calculate your payback period. So your payback period, you'll say, if it's going to take me 3 years to pay back whatever that we've put in, what's going to happen to, because you can project and say 2,650, all good. But if that price of gold, anything happens and it goes to 400, within a year or 2, you're stuffed. So
I remember oil going from $100 a barrel to $50 at some point.
It's
when the Middle East was
now.
strangling Gwasani. And guys who thought that oil fields collapsed.
So all I'm saying is that you do all those calculations, and then you say, okay, fine, it's good investment. We're going to mine here for 10 years, and you project that, and you watch it. So there's people that are hired just to look at the gold price, what it's doing, what's going to do, what is it going to do, and there's a whole lot of factors that affect it. And then from there, the investment, it's done, and then the mine starts. There's also mines, they followed all the processes previously, and they dig a shaft and they get underground, they found nothing.
It was a mistake. Like your example of Leplas Lely, na Lely have got, so we're going to buy here, and there's nothing here.
Even worse, you invest to put a shaft in, and you spend 2 billion or whatever, and the shaft is in there. Now you go underground, you realize that when you were drilling, you were hitting pockets of gold. But there's no link. So because when you drill, you say you drill here, maybe 10 meters away, you drill again, you drill, and then from there you draw a straight line and see how much grams you get here, and you get here, and you get here, you get here. Is this thing moving, or from here going there, there's nothing maybe going that way, etc. Then you make an assumption to say, okay, you're good. But what are the chances that you're going to drill here and get 10 grams per ton? You drill here again, and you drill, and then you're thinking, yes, this place
There's
is
a
rich.
whole place, boy.
Let's just stop, gentlemen. Let's sink a shaft. Let's not waste money anymore doing exploration. Let's sink a shaft. Get underground, develop, you do everything. You put ventilation, you put everything, electrical work, concrete work, whatever. You bring machines underground, you employ people, you build offices. You understand how much money you waste. And when you get there, you realize, hey, there's pockets of gold. And there's a whole lot of people that have invested a whole lot of money.
You're speaking about financial projections. I want to say this before I forget. I really hope, and I'm going to put this here on camera so that we revisit it at some point. If it doesn't exist, someone needs to put it together. That thing you said of putting unemployment rates by qualification. You raised it earlier. I'm bookmarking it again. We need Stats SA or someone out there, if it doesn't exist already, to show us of all the qualifications in South Africa, all of them, marketing, logistics,
and
corporate
that will help
governance,
as well with kids to choose. What is it that they
These
need
are
to
the
study?
unemployment rates. These are maybe even the vacancies. These are all the jobs available in the market currently, locally on the continent, overseas, so that we can see. Because I've heard people say there are a lot of useless qualifications in this country.
Which is true.
But you must be able to prove that the kids that have studied this, there's a 90% unemployment. The kids that have studied this, there's a 5% unemployment, so that you can do that. So that's important.
That would be actually quite interesting stats.
It's very important. Very important stats.
Very important.
Our government should be sitting on those things so that they can say shut down. I mean, they shut down my FET and other skills colleges, and now we have a shortage. Meanwhile, they've opened up all these other useless qualifications where the kids are sitting at home. 40% unemployment.
Do you think that is by design? I think so.
I believe it's by design.
Yeah.
There's a lot of incentives for a degeneration of our population.
Yeah.
You spoke about financial projections and economic viability. Link that to Zama, and then I'd like you to link it to, we'll call it a mafia, but it's literally how the world is run, and regulation, what we were saying about other African countries. The idea that there are certain people that are the first movers in a place. The De Beers of this world, the Oppenheimers, Rhodes, Bernardos, etc. They come in, they find an industry like technology, like insurance,
and they blow it,
and then they regulate. Or Irvin calls and Abokes Amtawung with the Isafa, and they say from now on, to get into this space, you must have 50 million, you must have done this, you must have these qualifications, and they ensure that the barriers to entry are high to a point where you can't now get in, even though you are a local, even though it's your yard, even though it's your wheelbarrows and your small little truck, and you're being told now that you can't get in because you don't have a license. So in your opinion and technically, what is a Zama? Linking the economic viability, linking the regulation, and then maybe also bring in the aspect of foreigners. Maybe let me add the story before you speak. When you study the history of mining, one of the places that gets highlighted is California. There was a gold rush in California. A lot of people flocked there. They were digging with spades and horses. And later on, Mexicans and other people were there, people from Chile. And then the white people that were there decided to regulate. And they started charging high fees to get into California and mine, to a point where a lot of the Mexicans got out. And then a lot of the guys that stayed ended up becoming criminals, Zama. To say, no, I need to pay this much money to be able to come and dig for something that I can find here. And that was in California back then. Some people went to San Francisco. Anyway, sorry, I'm a Zama.
So Zama, it's a Zulu word. So it's...
Was that Nimrod? No,
so
it was that.
It's people that take chances.
There was a game show, I think, on TV called Zama.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's people that take chances. So it's they go to a place and they take, because you must remember, those guys don't go through the process of exploring and checking how much of this is here, whatever. They take a chance and go inside and go underground.
Go inside what?
And go in the pit. And
what pit?
In the...
You have to simplify it, Baba.
they go underground through a shaft. So that's why the government now around Joburg, they've been giving tenders so that people can go close some of those holes.
So these are existing?
They are existing mines that we close them, that were closed down by the companies when they become uneconomical.
What does that mean?
What it means is that the company was mining there to a point whereby they feel they've extracted everything based on their projections. And anything else that's left, it's not economical for them to go fetch it because it's going to cost them more money than they would receive out of the product.
I'm trying to link it as an example. ShopRite, Boxer. Maybe let me use Boxer Macro. They go to a certain kasi and they say, look, there are 50,000 people in this kasi. Or there are 100,000, 300,000 people. They set up a macro, wholesaler, cash and carry, Jumbo, Rhino. We can service these people. And then at some point, the people start moving away and the population goes down to 20,000. There are still people here. They still need to eat. But macro says it doesn't make sense for us to have a macro here. So we're going to shut it down. But for a USAVE, for a Pakistani spaza shop, for a Somalian, there's still a way to make money here. But there's regulation that doesn't allow you to service these people. They have to catch taxis to macro somewhere else. It's something like that. So there's still resources, but for a big company, they're not going to make the money they want.
Then you're not gonna
but there's still a lot of money.
There's still a lot of money, yes. So these guys go down the mess.
So the company leaves the mine like that? They leave it like that?
No, but there's regulation on how you need to leave it. You need to rehabilitate it before you leave.
Okay.
So that's why now the government, but some of them, the old mines whereby the regulation maybe was not covering that properly.
They just left them like that?
They just left them like that. So these guys go in there, go underground, and they follow the vein when it comes to gold. They just follow that line of gold and they just go for that only.
Yeah.
You must remember, for you as a mining company, you go for grams per ton.
Yeah.
So you go get a ton and you hope for a certain gram coming out of it. So these guys go for the gold itself when they go underground and get it out.
Yeah.
So in some other areas, they don't even wait for the mine to be closed. While the mine is still active,
Come on, Baba.
While the mine is still active, they find means and ways to get underground and go to areas underground that have been closed off. Because the mine, you don't just close it off immediately.
Yeah.
You close those certain areas to say, okay, we're done with that area. And maybe we're done because it was unsafe to go there anymore. It's not about economics. And those guys, but they go in there. And then some of them stay underground for, I've heard stories, people stay there for a year.
Huh? Wait, I don't understand what you're saying.
So, like, for example, because it's groups, so these guys come down, and it's a syndicate. So, in an active
you're using the same words that the media uses. The syndicate were all Cecil John Rhodes.
No, wait.
That was the syndicate.
Let me just make my
These
point.
are Africans trying to get their own minerals.
No, it's actually dangerous for them to do that. It's not something that they should be doing.
But in normal mining, people die, right? Not a lot anymore.
Not a lot anymore because...
Yeah, but people would die anyways.
Yeah. So what happens is that when they get some of the guys, they stay there for long. And you must...
Is your phone vibrating?
I think so.
Sorry, that's just disturb. Hey, bye, Baba. It's busy. I'll tell you one about it's busy. Phone later.
So what happens is that when these things happen, when these guys go underground,
you're explaining that they live for a year. Sorry.
So some guys stay there and live for a year.
I don't understand what that means.
And they get...
Like every day and for a year. Underground. Like an earthworm, like a mole.
Like an earthworm, yeah.
There's no oxygen, must there?
No, because there's ventilation. There is.
I went to visit a very close cousin of mine, Usihle Makutulela from Ukvugeni. Shout out to Uchef. In a squatter camp in Germiston called Guarasta, close to Primrose. And while I was visiting him, when we walked around the squatter camp, and we were seeing these guys covered in sand, boots, and he's like, "Oh, nama Zama." And he told me that these guys, just to go down, some of them, it takes them 4 hours just to go down, and they stay there for I don't know how long, and then they come up, they go eat, they go sleep, and then they go back down.
Yeah. So there's guys that will go, depending on an area, they will go there on daily basis. So there's guys that go on daily basis. I mean, the guys that will send them food and will give them whatever that they need if they want. People that smoke, etc. Although it's dangerous because, there's methane underground.
Yeah, there's gases there.
There's gases and whatever.
Yeah.
So, but these guys don't really care. All they want is the gold. And I've read a study some time back whereby these guys actually don't benefit as much as the people that don't even go underground. There's people that run it,
That's what you mean by syndicate?
Yes.
So there's almost bosses.
There's bosses
that send these guys that are almost like slaves.
Yeah. To go there. So they some of them make a huge living out of that. I think there was stats, just I can't remember the numbers, that it was in billions what Zamas get.
In South Africa?
In South Africa.
The black market, in inverted commas.
Yeah. So
who do they sell to?
They sell, gold is easy to sell. You sell to everyone. Everyone is
what do you mean to everyone?
So, gold, it's easy to sell. You can sell it to the Chinese, you can sell it to whoever that wants it. The
no,
guys...
I don't understand what you mean.
So what I mean is that, so for example, say I run it.
Yeah.
And everybody goes and they bring the gold to me.
Yeah.
And I incentivize them based on the work that they've done, whatever the case might be. So I've got this gold now. So I know where to go sell it. So there's buyers everywhere of gold. So I can sell it in Dubai. I can sell it because gold, it's like prepared food.
Are there no regulations that manage that? I'm trying to figure that out.
Of course, there are regulations.
So you have to pay bribes to move it around.
But those people I would believe that they're dangerous. So they couldn't care about bribes or anything like that. If they want to go sell it, it's like you in your backyard, you find a diamond, you're going to look for a buyer. And then you give it.
Sure.
The guy will say, it's a bit dangerous, whatever, and try to rob you and say, okay, I'll give you $1.5 million. And I'm going to try to sell it for higher, whatever the case might be. So it's the same with this thing because it's prepared. Mostly, Zamas, that's why they would go to gold mines because it's easier to sell.
Okay.
It's easier to sell.
It moves fast, Baba.
You can't go to, coal, it's very little, that people will go there, But
and coal is not that expensive.
And it's not that
You'll sell to people that just want to make at their home in Baula.
Yeah, so people that are those ons, but it's not as lucrative as gold.
Yeah.
So those people run a very, very, very interesting thing. And I think it would be good for everyone just to go read a bit about Zama. I doubt they will end. I doubt they will end.
Yeah.
As long as there's still these mines. And now, because they know that the government is trying to close the old existing, and what they would do is that they will go to existing ones that were Penuel, they've invested and they're mining.
Yeah.
They go to places that have been closed underground.
Sure.
And I think that's where they stay longer because they're still fresh mining areas. And they just go there and get. Some of them they even blast, underground.
Sure.
They get explosives there. They do their thing. So it's quite a. But
sure.
Yeah, to be able to do that.
We can't all be heroes, boy.
Yeah. So
Christopher Columbus, Jan van Riebeeck were the explorers on the seas. These guys are the explorers of today.
I'm telling you. But
Zama is basically how we were mining before the colonizers came here and before we had advanced technology. That's how we mined.
Yeah. If you look at countries like Guinea, they call them artisanal miners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't call them illegal because they've got the saying that it's the land of our forefathers. We can. So the regulations are different from us. So they do go and get good gold and then they sell. And there's people that they know there's a market. Like we're saying that in olden days, that's what we used to do. There's people sit there with money and they're waiting for you to come. There's a scale there. You put, they said, okay, it's so many grams. And they give you the
like
cash.
A pawn shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's people that are doing that. They don't go in mine, but they make the difference between the delta between what they sell, what they buy it from you and what they sell. Out. So that difference, that's what they make. That's their business.
You're making me think of now the scrap metal industry in this country.
It's huge.
Which I think Abu Cyril are trying to shut down as well. All these trolley guys about don't scrap metals, but your car door.
Oh yeah.
But
for that it's not good.
So it's something like that.
Yeah, but for that it's not good.
What do you mean?
These guys, I saw a video of guys carrying a gate.
I saw a car door recently. I saw mchite bambe a car door babia amtekse yabolo yo shawi way mchite uzobuya nenyu because it's based on weight and worse if it has copper and the like. Foreigners as Zamas, and this is an unfair question, and I'm only asking it so that it's in the air. You believe a lot of mining companies, big mining companies, also buy from the Zamas. Because obviously it's economically not viable. We're not mining there anymore, but we've got our boys on the side who bring us extra resources and you don't have to answer it. Sorry, your thoughts on foreigners?
I'm gonna answer. So I don't think so. However, I know that a lot of big mining companies, they buy from small scale miners. Penuel that has got mining rights of chrome somewhere, and then the big companies, because it's legal. So those guys are doing it legally, so the big guys go and buy it from them, because how are you going to transport it? Iron ore, how are you going to transport it? Go taking it out and whatever. You don't have capacity on the rail system. They have, so you transport it to them, or they come pick it up and then they pay you for it. So they do, and that helps a lot.
My study of economic history would make me believe a conspiracy theory such as some of the big mining bosses are also the syndicate bosses that send these guys out there, because you are a mining boss, you're earning 10 million rand a year as a salary, and these illegal foreigners, I'll speak about those. I don't know about South Africans who are Zamas. They're undocumented. Even if they die underground, no one cares, no one knows who they are, no one is aware. Of the 10 million you're making on the books, they might make you another 3 million on the side. You've got nothing to lose. The guys are willing to work, and you tell them exactly where the stuff is. And you tell them, don't go in.
If that happens, it's quite sad.
If that happens.
If that happens. I don't know for sure.
If you study economic history, boy, the guy who offers the big tender, and he has a salary because he's a procurement officer. He has a salary, he gives the big tender there. Is also going to tell the small guy there, would he go and supply that company there? They got the tender, but they need these things, and I can tell you where to get them. You're going to supply them, and then also I'm going to speak to the guy who supplies them to go and steal so that he gives it to you.
But that's corruption, Mos.
That's exactly how it works. And I'm telling you, these guys that started these things at the highest levels, the big regulators, when they came in, you must understand, South Africa's mining industry and our economy has been built on wars. Boer War, Anglo-Boer War, the first one, the second one. There have been conflicts around the country over land, over mining rights. If you read the history of Barney Banato in Johannesburg, when he came here, we speak about foreigners. Some of these guys were foreign from a perspective of, you are from Kimberley. What are you doing in Joburg? This is my territory. Like the drug lords. And they come in here and they have to pay bribes to whoever's in charge of politics at that time, before black people were active. So those guys make sure that things move a certain way. So once an industry is born on the side, and you're telling me things like there are billions being made in the black market, and I'm a mining boss, and I know we're about to shut down a place because it's unsafe, people will die, but we know there's resources there, and I know certain guys who know certain illegal guys who are willing to live for a year under there, I'm definitely going to be like, I'm going to make sure security is not patrolling at that time.
Point B.
Yeah. We'll turn a blind eye. We won't be there. In the newspapers, we'll say, we're really shocked. It's unsafe. We don't approve. We're sending the police. Andre de Ruyter with Annika Larsen.
I actually watched a documentary about a mine in Welkom that explained exactly that.
Yeah.
With the Zamas and stuff. It's quite sad.
Andre de Ruyter, when he sat with Annika Larsen on ENCA, so he's the ex-CEO of Eskom now, speaks about, with some of the investigations they were doing, they would find certain people involved in corruption. They would arrest them.
Take them to the police.
Parade them. And then the next day, the guys are out. And the question is, who's getting them out? you've got rumors now of people asking why is Gwede Mantashe so pro-coal? Why did Didi Mabuza step down as deputy president of the country? And even when he was nominated as deputy president of the ANC, he's like, I sengiyabonga. You know, big Mpumalanga head. And you look at all the supposed cartels and mafias in Mpumalanga with the mining, Malahleni, Sekunda, all those places. And now we've got a minister of electricity, Josienso Sputla, Ramokgopa. And he's done his tours to find out. And now, hey, all of a sudden things are looking better. Conspiracy theories. People are saying, no, these guys said, take out this white guy because he's bringing in his own white guys and you guys will have your electricity back. Take out this white guy. Things will go back to normal. There won't be any traffic at the harbour in Richards Bay. The coal will flow nicely. Whatever railway lines have disappeared,
do you think he was doing the right thing?
Sorted.
Do you think he was on the right track to fix Eskom?
My opinion.
Your opinion, yeah.
My opinion is that the world is run by criminals. And there are different grades of thug, different looters. There's the basic Zama, the dirty guy who's at the bottom, shame, who's a nobody. There's the pimps, the boss, the syndicates. There's the legal guys, good on paper, they speak well at the conferences, they've got the licenses. There's the big companies who, in my opinion, South Africa is like a second-hand country. Our job as South Africa is to be a farm and a factory and a mine for Europe and for America and for Asia. They are caretakers, the mining bosses, the politicians who are paid nice salaries to make sure that the labor and the equipment is sucking all agricultural produce, all manufacturing for cheap, all mining produce to empower those economies. So those are the highest level guys. BHP Billiton, Rio Tinto, Anglo-American, Abo South 32, and some of these guys now, your Seritis and which are almost like subsidiaries of these guys. Kumba, which I think is a subsidiary of Anglo. You know, he was like a service provider to the big boss.
Andre.
Yeah. So Donald Trump speaks about Make America Great Again. Rob Hersoff, in not so many words, says things like the South African economy needs to go back to what it was doing in the late 80s, where we had dollar-rand parity. 1 rand was $1. For that to happen, certain things need to exist. And part of them need to be the process of things like mining needs to be cheap. The infrastructure needs to be super amazing. So not only is Transnet fully functional, we now have got fast trains that move coal from Emalahleni to Richards Bay in minutes, if not hours. And for that to happen, you need to have the certain type of people that are linked to certain thugs for that to be a reality. So my understanding of what Andre de Ruyter is or was doing, whether under Praveen or Tito or Cyril, there's a certain group of criminals who were probably running the South African economy back then, who were willing to destroy our economy under the ANC so that we'll say the ANC failed. Give the country to the DA and to the old guys. And then all of a sudden, magically, when Glencoe takes over Transnet, it works. All of a sudden, when Eskom has been privatized, now we have power. Magic. Hey, these guys are good. Same old guys. And I think Andre may have been sent. This is just a theory. There's no proof of this. I believe Andre was sent to go and make sure that some of the, I'll call them black for ease, some of the new age rich guys around Eskom, around some of the parastatals need to be crushed. So you look at the IDC, you look at the PIC, you look at certain tenderpreneurs, we need to flush these guys out. And how we do that is either by throttling how they operate through load shedding, which is maybe engineered, or we send our guy in there to go and make sure that he gets rid of all these guys. Maybe a Cyril is going to get rid of all these tenderpreneurs and all these guys. We bring in our guys. Andre de Ruyter, go to Eskom, say there's criminality. which there might be. But again, everything is criminal, I've said. There's criminals there, they're doing all these things, and then bring in these new guys. I know him and his chief operations officer, they were coming in to come and expose the crime, and then to bring in new guys who might be old guys from the apartheid government. All of a sudden we have power and he was going to do that. Thank you so much, sis.
Thank you, my G.
And he was going to do that, and we were going to have power, and then we were going to applaud. But some of the criminals that had already got in there were like, no, but you guys are the old criminals, and we're not interested in you guys coming in here. So if you are sabotaging the country, we will also sabotage the country, so that it becomes so bad and untenable that someone has to go, and we're not going to go. And if you think you have firepower, we have firepower.
But where are the people in this whole thing?
Which people?
Us.
Who's us?
Like
you are a mining engineer, Baba. You're part of some thugs. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I mean, the people are fighting at the top because of power and whatever. But what about the people that live in the land?
That is, so again, anyways, I think Andre Derrida was coming to fix Eskom from a perspective, which is going to serve an agenda. And I think Osputla and these guys are coming in to fix Eskom from a certain agenda that serves a certain purpose. Our economy crashes, it's whatever. South Africa is your farm. There are cows dying, mad cow disease. There are chickens, bird flu. The reason those things are happening is because there's someone out there who maybe controls the chicken price, the cattle price. There are people out there who benefit from you being destroyed because their farm gets to make money, or whatever the case may be. And I think when it comes to the destruction of South Africans or the economy, it's not as important as ensuring that my people are eating. Because the South African economy can function great, but then it enriches China. No. I'd rather it suffer than enrich China. The South African economy can function great, but then it enriches Russia.
By the way, you're talking about China. South Africa owes China 4%. Their debt to China, it's 4% of our GDP.
Those are the people that we serve. Russia, Europe, America. So I'm trying to explain that we don't mind the people. It's like the taxi industry. They would rather not operate. They would rather shut down the routes. And you're like, no, but people need to get to work. Some people are going to fetch their medicine from... We don't care. As long as i-route akusiyaka mlojo or yaka Ngcangca, we don't care if the economy collapses.
We want it.
The route has to be ours. So I believe it becomes, and mind you, the taxi industry on a scale of thug is just maybe 2 levels above. Like I said, there's upper levels above King Charles and the big colonizers. And I think there's a level above King Charles. That's where we start speaking about Illuminati and the Freemasons. Ernest Oppenheimer was a Freemason in South Africa. Jewish.
Do you believe in those things?
No. He was officially a Freemason. But so people don't know what a Freemason is. It's a society. It's like saying you're part of NAVCOC or part of the ANC. So it's just a group of people who happen to do so. Being a graduate of UJ, being part of the WITS alumni. Oh, do you know he's part of WITS? So the Freemasons are that. So he was a Freemason, Jewish, but he converted while he was here to become Anglican. So the Oppenheimer family, from Ernest to Harry, to Nikki, to now the Lighty Jonathan, who's also got kids, they are all Anglican now, in my opinion. So that's what I'll say on that.
So do you think?
I think we need to shut this thing down. We've been chatting for like 2 hours.
Let's shut it down. Yeah.
But there's so much more to discuss.
Yeah. So, but no, look. Thank you for inviting me, and I think in the process of conversation, because this is not like when you bring people here, you don't interview them, you converse with them.
Yeah.
I think that's
a lot of people hit me for that. Stop interrupting. I'm like, we're having a conversation.
We're having a conversation, and it's not you trying to cut me. It's you trying to add to the point that I'm trying to make as well. I mean, we're conversing. I mean, we're learning. So I think, and I'm hoping that conversations that we're having here, they educate a whole lot of people, because I mean, they've educated me, the conversation that we've just had. So I think for me, in closing, is that people, if they would like to get into the mining space, they can get into the mining space through investing in the mining space, buying shares of certain companies, etc.
Yeah.
Or getting to the mining space in terms of physically becoming entrepreneurs and become suppliers, or becoming mine owners, which is it's quite hard to do, and you need to be patient because it will take you years for you to get there.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a lucrative industry that people needs to look at. People needs to research and read more about it. It's a beautiful industry to be part of, and I think it feeds to a whole lot of other industries, and it works together. It integrates with a whole lot of other industries as well. So I think for me, thank you very much for inviting me, and it's always good to have a chat with you because I can't live without learning anything from you. Although, you take that very light as a person. People might not know that. You're like, man, whatever. It's to you, it's common knowledge because, and to other people, it's not common knowledge. To other people, I think they feel very educated. If you go to the comment section, people feel very educated by listening to, hence it's growing now. You guys.
Thanks for the support. I saw you. I saw you gave a super thanks on one of the videos. We appreciate the money.
That's part of trapping.
That's mining money, boy.
That's part of trapping.
That's trapping.
That's trapping. Yeah.
Before we close, we have to do some names. I know we spoke about it. You said you didn't want to mention names. I'll mention them. A guy like Tim Tibila. I'm not sure how to pronounce his surname. I used to say Tibiela and someone said it's Tibila or something like that. I mentioned Sandile Zungu of Amazulu. Mzi Kumalo, old school from the BE days. I think Otokyo Sehwale Mvela Panda at some point were involved in mining.
Yes, yeah.
Putuma Ntlego with Pembani. They involved Mos Nkhuasheng. I'm mentioning these names because I want everyone who's going to be listening to this to go and research on their own.
Go check them
Mos
out.
Nkhuasheng, Saki Makozoma, of course you mentioned, who used to be, I think, an ANC treasurer at some point. I'm trying to think of them. We mentioned Bridget Mutsipe, who's married to Jeff Radebe, who was a minister in the presidency. Macau Mining, Daphne Nkosi as well. Patrice Mutsipe, of course. Ivan Glossenberg, who people didn't know was the wealthiest South African until they listed Glencore. In 2014, I think he was worth 60 billion rand. Patrice was at like 18 billion at the time.
But Patrice is very close now. I think isn't it at 50 now?
I have no idea. Ivan Glossenberg, because we'll mention the black names, but there's a lot of white names that hide very well. Desmond Sacco, I'm not sure if he's still alive. Assor Limited was the company. I'm sure Johan Rupert have got backdoor investments. Maybe don't speak that much about it. Christo Visa, I think, was invested in certain diamond interests. Some of these guys are invested not just in South Africa, but Zimbabwe is very mineral rich. Diamonds in Botswana. There were diamonds in Namibia. I think Thabo Mbeki was linked to some mine. I'm not sure, Zambia or the DRC. Billy Rautenbach. People must go look up Billy Rautenbach. Very controversial figure. People are speaking now about Louis Liebenberg, who speaks about how they were playing with diamonds as kids that they picked up. He was in the news for funding Jacob Zuma's trial. He's got an amazing interview on YouTube. Louis Liebenberg. Elon Musk's father was a miner as well. I'm trying to think of some of the names, man.
And he's still in Pretoria, right?
I'm not sure where he may be. Yeah. I know he has children with his stepdaughter.
I think in Pretoria.
Scandalous. I mentioned Tokyo. I mentioned Pembani. There's Pamodzi, which were Abon Dabantsele as well. I can go. You mentioned Mike Teke, Seriti, Dr. Anna Mokhokong. We mentioned, there's some names I had, man, which are kind of slipping me now. Yeah, if people look up Nail, Tebe Investments, maybe Chatham House, which is the funding arm of the ANC. Chatham House is where Oliver Reginald Tambo went to go and give a speech to go and beg the United Kingdom to come and intervene. Or Chief Albert Luthuli have also been there to go and ask for the British monarch to intervene with apartheid. Lazarus Zim, big name as well.
He's a legend.
Yeah. There's a whole host of people, man. Anyways, yeah, will come up. And then people must look up the companies. BHP Bulletin, South 32, Seriti, Anglo-American. Please look up Anglo-American.
Sibanye Stillwater.
Mafia. Sibanye Stillwater is a big one. Rio Tinto. South Africa, the South African government has got a state-owned mining company. It's called AEMC or something. Africa something.
I think they operate in the Mpumalanga area, ne?
I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure. There's mines in the Northwest, Platinum Belt, in Limpopo, Johannesburg, there's still people mining. If you go N12, there's a lot of mines. I think Isibanye is on those sides. Places like Germiston, there's still, I think, a bit of mining. Springs,
yeah.
The Oppenheimer family, very big, and they delisted De Beers, and they now have Oppenheimer Generations, which is run by Jonathan. Now,
but they're in trouble with the Botswana government. You remember they had Botswana it was the partnership between De Beers and the Botswana government for the diamonds. So I was I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I think the new president also was saying that he's surprised that people are questioning the partnership. And he says that when we started this thing, we were, I think they were like a very low percentage. And then over a period of time, when that period is finished, say 5 years for argument's sake, and then they renegotiate again to have a certain stake. But now they got to a point whereby they don't want to have a partnership. What's wrong with that? Why people are crying and whatever? We don't want to have a partnership anymore. We want to do it on our own. Because that was our strategy from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they feel about it, or maybe they saw it coming.
Glencore Extractor. Have to mention Royal Bafokeng, Platinum. Shout out to the Bafokeng
they've done well.
Kingdom.
They've done well, yeah.
There are mining activities people aren't aware in places like KZN. So within Ngonyama Trust, these are the things we're not exposed to.
Mining sand.
You know, there's mining there. I mean, you think of where I come from in Newcastle. I know Shanduga and Glencore were doing coal there at some point. Maupume Newcastle, going to Ladysmith as an example. On the African continent, you had the Dos Santos family. They now call controversial because the father passed away. He was the president. I think his name was Eduardo dos Santos. His daughter was the wealthiest woman on the continent and in Portugal. Very pretty lady, Isabel. I think the father's black, mom was white. You've got a huge capturer in the DRC called Dan Girdler. Very close with the Kabila family. Very big in diamonds as well. A lot of the Nigerians, the black guys, they are huge because they have gas and oil. A lot of people are not aware of some of the names in Mozambique. There's a lot of gas in Mozambique as well. They're not listed, and because they're not listed, they're unknown.
And that's where the money is.
Rwanda, Sudan. I think Sudan has oil as well. In the north, people are not aware of what happens in places like Egypt, Tunisia, etc. I've found out that most of our gold and most of our valuable minerals are under the sea, but currently they aren't. It's not economically viable to go and mine under the sea. Gaten McKenzie, I know Rob Hersoff and some of the guys in the Western Cape are speaking about fracking in the Northern Cape where there's gas. I think people are looking into uranium in some of those places there. I remember Cyril's face lighting up when Total, Nabo Shell wanted to start exploring. And then ESG, the environmental guys are like, no, don't come and destroy our natural vegetation. So that was halted. But when the guys come full force, boy, Namibia, Northern Cape, I don't think has been explored as much as it should. I don't know if the Eastern Cape has been explored the way it should.
Cape, I think so. I mean, there's coal in the Eastern Cape anyway, but I think just the public is mining it for themselves.
Yeah, the Eastern Cape, I think the Free State, Lesotho, those places have probably not been exploited the way they should be. But yeah, man, I hope people will, even in the comments as they're reading this, will drop some names. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of wealthy black people. There's a lot of wealthy white people who hide very well. There's a lot of unknown Indian people in mining.
That are filthy rich,
make a lot of money. There's some coloreds just here. Some coloreds, a lot of Chinese companies here, and normally they hide behind companies. So you won't know that it's individuals.
A lot.
Chinese companies in South Africa, Australian companies in South Africa, Canadians, very quiet in mining in South Africa. Americans, of course, a lot of Germans that come here.
London.
They even have British. They've now got this thing where they fly to Mpumalanga, Kruger National Park. The Mpumalanga airport is being invested in. There's something they know that we don't know, the Germans. They're flying direct to Mpumalanga now. But yeah, man, the continent is up for grabs. And as a country that was built on mining, it's kind of sad for me that every school in this country is not teaching mining just as a need to know. What has mining done for this country and all the ancillary services there? You want to be an accountant? Go be an accountant at a mine. You want to be a lawyer? You want to be a medical doctor? You want to open retail businesses? Go to mining towns, and see what's happening there, and go build in those spaces. So,
I mean, look at Rustenburg as an example.
Rustenburg. Emalahleni, for example.
Emalahleni, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, places like Secunda, a lot of those guys travel to Joburg every weekend to come and party and stuff here. But they actually should be there if someone was to develop those spaces. So yeah, man. Maybe when I remember, I'll also in the comments, I'll drop some of the names in there. Yeah, I think we'll shut it down from there. Thanks for coming through. I think we're gonna have to unpack mining some more so that people can get more comfortable in mining. And I hope at some point I can bring someone. There's an amazing young guy called Wandile Sihlobo, who's an agronomist, agricultural economist. I'd like him to fully come unpack agriculture. If not him, someone else in farming. Because farming, mining are big in this country. Manufacturing, although it's been destroyed and there's an influx of imports, I think we have a grand opportunity to revive manufacturing here, manufacturing in the SADC countries as well, and on the African continent. And we can become the billionaires of the future, and people will write stories about us and how we built schools and how we built whatever the case may be. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for coming through, bro.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Easy.
For having me.
Out.